Welcome to a new episode of Song Sessions. I'm your host, David Pomeranz. And this show is where I get the opportunity to sit down and talk shop with some of the songwriters whom I admire most. And tonight, we have the most charted adult contemporary artist and best-selling solo pianist of our time. 21 #1 albums, 32 pop radio singles. With over 5 million albums sold, he has had more AC, that's adult contemporary, hits than any male artist, besting Elton John, Paul McCartney, and Billy Joel. He's been nominated for 2 Grammys. He was twice named Songwriter of the Year from the song performance rights organization SEASAC, and he is the host of his own popular nationally syndicated radio show, The Jim BRICKMAN Show. He is one of the best concert performers anywhere. And ladies and gentlemen, it's my great joy to spend some quality time today for my best new friend, Jim BRICKMAN. Hi, Jim.
Good to see you, David. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I was thinking about, we did a show, you and I, about a month ago, and where I got to hear tons and tons of your songs, and I couldn't get the melodies out of my head for a couple of weeks.
I felt the same way about yours.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. Well, we share that love for melody, that's for sure. But what was interesting to me is I was looking, I was kind of being curious about construction and melody, and how somebody chooses to jump to an interval or jump a note or whatever. When you write your songs, do you sweat over them? Do they pop out? Are they come easy to you? Those gorgeous things that you write?
It depends if it's an instrumental or if it is a vocal, words and music. I really feel like those are distinct, because when you write lyrics, there is a specific concept that you're writing about. When you're writing solo piano, the interpretation can be taken in so many different ways by the audience. So when I write melody solo piano music, they come to me in my head, and they're always very simple. I think of myself as a simple writer. It's not on purpose. It's just the way it comes. I think when people ask a question like, well, why did you decide to make your music like this? And as you know, you don't decide. It's not like, should I be complicated or should I be simple?
Right.
You're just right. So I've always had a knack for melody, and I've always loved songs that have great hooks and great melody. I don't like improvisation too much. I don't like tangents of just improv that don't seem to go anywhere. I always feel like you should go somewhere to lift the emotional connection that people have, and make it easy for people to take it in.
Yeah, they do get it. And I think I would assume, and I observe that's why so many people love your songs and your work and your concerts and your albums, because they have that, you say simple, but it's a direct communication, it's just it's a no frills, and yet there's a beauty to it. So it's not just, there's an elegance.
I appreciate you saying no frills. I think that's a better way to say it. Simple implies, not sophisticated or complex. And so I'll use that from now on, no frills.
Well, good. When I listen to the great writers of yesteryear and modern year, and I hear the frills of the interpretation of, climb every mountain, and now climb every mountain, you don't get better than that, in terms of, of it, every note is exactly perfect. And that's the way. I
agree completely.
And even Richard Rodgers, when he writes his songs, he would not allow a singer in one of his Broadway shows to change a note or even a key. That's how specific he was. He intended it that way. And it's interesting.
Yeah,
So
I think that, I mean, I think that's smart, and I honor it. I should try that more often. Yeah, you know, Climb Every Mountain is an example of the kind of writing that I aspire to. To me, it's sort of like get to the point.
Mhm.
You know, I think a lot of songs these days, they they don't go anywhere. They just keep repeating the same thing over a track, or, you know, people say I'm a track writer,
Mhm.
and I I feel like the essence of a songwriter has to start with a guitar or a piano. It I don't think, I mean, it's songwriting of a different form and art, but I prefer the Roger approach.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And when I heard that I wrote a track, I would collaborate with some guys in recent years, and they say, "I've got a great track for you," and they have drums and bass and some kind of repeating figure, piano figure. And I said, "Well, what do you want me to do with this?" "Well, put a melody on it."
Right.
It's like there's slather a couple of
Yeah.
forkfuls of cream of melody on it.
Recently I went to write in one of the writing rooms at Universal in New York. You know, they have, for some of their published writers, they let you use their writing rooms
Right.
if you don't have a piano at home or something. So I went there and I walked in, and they said, "Okay, here's a room," and there was no piano in it. And I said, I I don't understand. Well, they said, "Well, we only have one piano. We have about 10 rooms, but these are track writing rooms." I said, "Well,
Wow.
what do you what do you mean?" They said, "Well, people make the track, and then they just make the track in here, and then they sing over it, but everything is track. Nobody sits at the piano." I mean, they looked at me like, "No one sits at the
Yeah.
piano.
What's
What are
wrong
you
with
talking
you?
about?" It's just, I I was like, "Well, the one piano you have, wherever it is, that's the room I want."
Here's what I don't understand is how can you, not that there's anything wrong with that. I've heard some really great pop
Oh yeah,
records
yeah,
that work, and they're using that format. That happened, and the melodician, is that a word?
yeah,
The melody person knew what they were doing, and they did the first verse, and then they varied the second verse, and the same chords on the chorus, same.
yes, that's
But they
quite
would
often.
actually,
Yes,
they would instinctively pause and go to another place or whatever it was. So there's a talent to that as well.
I think
Um,
what that loses is the emotional push and pull of the space in songs, in the flow. You know, it's very hard with a track that's just constantly beating at the same time. I think that's one of the things also that in my piano writing is to make sure to leave enough breath and enough space, and not to feel like you have to fill up the space with just being busy. You
mhm.
know, people can't take in that much information if it's just playing. You know, I get a lot of people who come to my concerts who say, you know, "I want to do what you do, and here's a example." And it's just inevitably wall to wall sound,
Mhm.
because I think they feel like they have to show their proficiency instead of sharing emotion. It's
Right.
almost like it doesn't matter how many notes you play, it's what you do with them and how they ebb and flow. And you have to leave enough space for people to take in what you just did. I
Yes, sir.
feel like it's like talking. Nobody talks without a rhythm or without a cadences. We're talking right now, space, rhythm, melody. And so people take in the quality of our conversation because of the pause. That's the way people talk. You don't know anybody that talks like this and then they just keep on. I mean, some people do, but
Yeah.
for the most part, people don't talk like this and then they talk a little bit about the melody and then they, it's like,
And those people you don't want to listen to anymore.
that's right. You
gotta go. You're at a party.
Exactly.
I have to get my cookie down.
If you know somebody like that, which I'm sure we all do, it's too much. And it's the same with music. You can't fill up. There's no time to take in the quality of what just happened if there's no moments of space.
Right. It's a communication, just as you say, and every moment is quite intended. You know, what's interesting, on the other hand, because you've got, for instance, there's this guy that I discovered through you, Darrell Long, from the Philippines, yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here's an example of, him taking a song, a melody, an intended, written piece by you, and putting nuance in there that does add to it. Not because he's showing off, like you say, not because he's doing acrobatics and jumping. Look at me, because he can. You know that. He's that good. But he caresses what you've done.
Caresses.
Yeah, he shades what you've done. Mm-hmm. And he'll add, and if he'll maybe add a little fall off note to your thing. Yeah. You maybe didn't write that, but he went, yeah. And that's the thing that makes it go even more. So you've got two artists collaborating there, quite literally. It's true. When you went to, so you grew up in Cleveland, mm-hmm. and Shaker Heights, beautiful area. Shaker Heights, I've been there. And what music did you listen to when you were a kid growing up?
I listened to 70s straight ahead top 40 radio. I have very mainstream tastes. I grew up loving a lot of the things that my fans love, who are my contemporaries, baby boomer, for the most part, contemporaries. I think of course, Tapestry is the definitive for me as a writer. I loved Carly Simon, Joni Mitchell, Simon and Garfunkel, Eric Carmen, Leonard Cohen, great songwriters and great vocalists. Burt Bacharach, the Carpenters, anything that played on the radio.
Sure. Yeah, Jackson Browne. Were you a fan of Jackson Browne?
A little bit. I didn't have his albums, but the pop songs, I would listen to American Top 40 every week. Sure. I didn't think at the time I want to be a song. I mean, I was young when I would listen to Top 40 and I played the piano, but I didn't think then, like a lot of us, not you, because you probably knew your whole life, but I want to write a song like this. It wasn't, I didn't think that. I just took in what I liked. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, I love her voice, or that's such a beautiful melody. And it, music touched me, but I didn't think that's what I want to be doing until much later.
Oh, interesting. When did you decide that that's what you wanted to do professionally?
I think because early on my piano lessons, I'm not a pianist. And I don't think that I'm a songwriter who plays my songs on the piano. I play them very well, but I'm not, I can play covers in my style because I've developed a style in my life, but so they sound like me and my approach. But early on, I was not proficient at the piano. I played very well, but I had a lot of it was by ear. And so wow. I think when you're a songwriter, that doesn't really show itself until you're a little more mature.
Interesting. When but you studied, you went to Cleveland Institute of Music, right?
I did.
What did you learn there? What was good and bad about that?
Well, when I was about 12 years old, up until then, I had been taking from this woman down the street. And, most piano teachers in a neighborhood, they teach fairly generically. So when you're a standout, they don't necessarily know it because they're kind of teaching the same thing to everybody. And you're following their pattern. They're not accommodating what they notice about you that's different than somebody else. Because in my view, that, not to say that there aren't talented piano teachers, of course there are that
Sure.
can tell, but for the most part, older ladies or men that teach piano have a system, and you conform to that system. They don't think, oh, he's going to be a songwriter. And I get that. It's not what it is. You have 10, kids a day, and there's a recital and all that. So when I was about 12 years old, I had been complaining to my mom about how she didn't really like me. I mean, the piano teacher, my mom liked me. The piano teacher I didn't get her, she didn't get me. So my mom she just noticed that, and she found me a teacher who changed my life. He was a graduate student at Cleveland Institute of Music. He was one of the first people at a classical conservatory that came in to do improv and jazz and songwriting. And he was 23 years old. Name was Marshall Griffith. And he really changed my life because he taught me about pop piano structure, bass, dum, da, dum, dum, da, dum, and he let me open up, explore. He had a system, whatever you call it, that he wrote that. And so I started playing stuff like, standards, Moon River, trying to get the feeling again, things like that.
A classic, by the way.
Oh my God, yes. Yes. Fantastic song. It really is. But it just changed my life because he let me find out who I was. And a great teacher makes all the difference in the world. It boosts your confidence. You have an advocate, and I still talk to him all the time.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I want to tell you a very quick story along that line. You talk about an advocate or someone who actually sees you, really gets you. I was in junior high school and playing the drums in the band, in the school band. And we were playing, and we did an assembly, and all the parents were there, and I'm doing my job. We're doing old Neil Hefti tunes. And Neil Hefti. Da, 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 da,
oh, yeah.
Da, da, da. Just swingy things. But then we played Hard Day's Night. And so Hard Day's Night, that's my thing, right? So I'm bashing on these drums and playing my heart out. And it was Mr. Pinto was the teacher, conducting. And at the end of it, we played the last thing, and everybody applauds, and he goes to me and he gives me his hand and he asks me to stand. And I got my own ovation. And that moment, it's not that I can't say that was the moment that changed my life, or that was the moment that made me want to do this for a living or any of that. But that acknowledgement was so meaningful and unexpected. When somebody, like you say, when somebody, sees you, gets you, appreciates, I see what you did there. I saw what you did. That little thing, I saw what you did there.
Yeah.
It's everything, isn't it?
It is. In my case, it showed itself privately, but I was very reticent to play, if you came to my high school talent show, you wouldn't have picked me out as anything special. What happened to me was when I was about 15, I auditioned to be an accompanist for a theater company, a very, very popular, I wouldn't say semi-professional. It just happens to be that the people in the theater, youth theater, these shows were top notch. They were not ordinary. It was a community theater, very, very popular. And I auditioned to be the accompanist, and I got the job. And that completely changed my life because all they had was me. There was no orchestra.
Oh, I see. Wow.
And I remember the audition, and it was Wendy, my general manager, who you know.
Sure.
It was her father's theater. That's where I know her from.
I see.
And so he was amazing. And at my audition, the audition was not to read the music. The audition was, okay, play scary music, play happy music, play emotional music, play sad music, because so much of it was kind of underscoring. So if it was the Wizard of Oz, you would take Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and then during some of the book scenes, you'd improvise on Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Like in a TV show where they take the theme and then it goes through, there's the emotional part of the theme, the up-tempo part of the theme.
Sure.
And so that craft, I honed that craft because every show was like, it was Sleeping Beauty, then it was romantic. If it was Oliver, then it was like all the, big up-tempo stuff and the beautiful stuff, Sound of Music. We did every one of those. West Side Story, everything. And this was a talented group of people. A handful of them went on to very successful careers in film. And so it was top notch. And not only did that give me a sense of what theater was, because my parents were not at all artsy in any way, not the least. They would go to like the, the Sound of Music is playing, or something. They would go to that, but
they're punters. They liked commercial.
Yeah, they're civilians. They my mom is a writer, so very creative, but not, and sort of a poet. But not a major arts upbringing.
But they knew, but they didn't try to squash that in you or get a real job. You never had that talk, right?
No, but they scratched their head. Why? What is this? Why is it happening? I mean, it was just, it's not through any fault of their own. And so the theater helped me understand all different styles.
Yeah.
While I'm taking piano lessons with this great guy, and I'm playing improv at the theater, and playing, every score, we didn't do Sondheim, thank God, because I would never have been able to do that.
But you did West Side, so that's not chop.
Yeah, that was probably the hardest. I preferred, give me the Wizard of Oz.
We're off to see the wizard.
Yeah,
although I'm off to see the wizard. The wonderful, there's a wizard, ever a wizard was. That's actually a very particular melody.
Very much.
It's not an easy melody.
Yeah. You're right.
But it's. I know just what you mean.
But I mostly was a fake book reader. I didn't read. I just wanted the fake book. That was that. And still, if I play a cover, I do not, like when you send me your stuff, and one of them was the piano arrangement, I was like, no, send me the chords and the fake book.
Interesting. Or
the easy piano even, because then I can, it's funny, like sometimes I'll play, if I do a cover, I just did this because I did some 60s songs, and some like The Sounds of Silence or Yesterday or Georgia or any of these, I got the easy piano sheet music, like the big note, because all I want is the major basics. I don't want them to necessarily tell me where to change chord. I want the guide, and then I want to be able to interpret.
Right.
So
Because you know where to change the chord. You've heard the
yes,
song, and so that's not a problem. Yeah. Let's see.
but I still need the structure and outline. So the theater changed my life, but I had zero desire to be up on stage, only in the pit where nobody saw me. Zero desire to be a performer. No, never thought of it. Didn't occur to me. Wasn't in my, never.
When did you have that moment? That the one I described with Mr. Pinto. When was your moment when you went, oh, I like this up here? Because I know you love to play for people. When did you get that?
It started after college. Like, I mean, not even a moment where I would be like in college or anything, like, I'm going to be a songwriter, artist, recording artist, performer. I mean, like, what? No, like never occurred to me. Never had the desire to be famous or be known, or, I mean, I guess you want to be, I mean, and I went to college for, just to learn the craft. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, and I didn't really play that much solo piano. I mostly, I wasn't like, I'm going to write solo piano music. Never wrote solo piano music. Only wrote songs with words, and then I was in advertising for a long time. In my 20s, I was a jingle writer.
Oh.
And that's what I did. Like, I was ambitious about it, and I did it for about 12 years until my early 30s. Like, I thought that was my career. It was my career. I started when I was 19. I started getting jobs when I was 20, 21. And between the theater and then producing jingles, writing a different song every day, that's why I'm such a hooky writer, because that's the job of a jingle writer. And you also have to know styles. You have to know how to produce a vocal. You have to orchestrate, and it's all on demand and very quickly. You don't get, when you feel like it, write this McDonald's commercial. It's like, it's going on the air tomorrow, produce it. It's also extremely competitive, extremely, because what the big advertisers do is they dole out, they give 5 people $500, or at the time, to come up with a demo. And then
it's not paying you anything. It's paying for the cost of making a demo.
Exactly. It would be different now because you could do it in your basement, but then hire vocalists, you go in the studio, rhythm section. So you would demo your demo idea with their criteria, and then they would pick the best one that they liked. So if you don't win often, you're not successful. It was torture. Like, this career is like a vacation compared to that. It was a nightmare. I loved it because when I did become successful at it, or they would just come to me and not do a demo, but I would go to New York or Chicago, and I still live in Cleveland, but I would go to New York and I would spend all the money that I made on hiring the best jingle singers that I heard about or that I discovered were well known. And they, in turn, they sort of helped me. It's like they taught me, because I would go in and I would hire all these great people. And then I would say, so do you girls like to sing the melody all together, or do you like to SATB on the harmonies right away? Or do you want it to be like the guys and girls all together on the melody and then stack? And instead of being like, this kid is like some 20-year-old kid, like, he doesn't know what he's doing. What the hell are we doing here? It was completely the opposite. They loved to help me. They would be like, it was odd. I don't
Yeah.
think these days it would be like that. It was, and I would like, can I call you on the phone, like one of the top jingle singers, and call you on the phone and ask you a few questions? And they're like, sure. And they would sit on the phone with me for like an hour, some female jingle singer or guy. And I was so enamored. And I thought, I can't believe these people are, in retrospect, I really can't believe it. I would never do that. I don't think, I mean, maybe I would, but
Yeah, I think you would. But anyway,
I might if I saw somebody that was really talented. But
well, obviously they saw that in you. I mean, really,
I
that's
guess that I was 21. I mean, you know, and then when I listen back to them, they're really good. Like, I think they still, if I do say so myself, some are great, but some are really good. What happened was I was asked to speak on the subject of music and advertising at a advertising age creative workshop. And I spoke at it from the piano, and I was completely comfortable. I realized, oh, I know what I'm talking about, and emotional connection and why it's so important in a jingle to grab people and bring them in. And, you know, in the days where jingles were the thing, I just loved it. I thought it was so much fun every day to do. And so I started speaking. And then because it went so well, I started on this circuit where I got invited to, you know, the Seattle Advertising Association to speak, or the,
wow.
you know, and then it started to be like a thing. And then I would just say yes to every one of them, even if it was like Topeka or Dothan, Alabama, whatever. And what happened was, it was almost like, because I was speaking there, I got work, because then the people that were there were like, oh, you know, he's an expert, I'm going to hire him. So it was almost like they were paying me to perform, but I was also marketing my services at the same time. Like one of those like financial seminars at the Holiday Inn, you know what I mean?
Sure.
You know, like
They'll
they
hire you to handle their finances.
exactly. And so, or tax seminars. Oh, he's the expert. You know, you pay to go, but then he gets work from you anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then I thought, gosh, I'm pretty comfortable in front of people. But still, it wasn't, oh, I know, I'll be a performer. What I'm saying is that that was the first time that I started feeling like I was comfortable and a good communicator in front of people.
Right.
But it wasn't with the intention of becoming a recording artist and doing concerts. It's just that it was something I felt comfortable doing. So when it did happen, it didn't scare me.
I understand. It's interesting you should say the communication part, because my take on you, as I come to know you and observe you and know your work more and more, your ability to communicate is exemplary. You are really a tremendous communicator. I don't mean to butter your bread, but I've seen a lot of people, as you have, you know, on stage, in a studio, on a radio show, whatever. And I always get from you that you want to know. There's genuine interest. When you ask a question, you really want to know. When you play a song, you really want them to know. It is a very real back and forth, back and forth. And that, aside from your talent, that really does set you apart as an artist.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I think part of it is, it started with naivete. In other words, when I got the record deal, I remember it was so fairy tale. Like, they came to my house in Los Angeles, they flew down there and they signed the papers with me. It was very like, you know, in a movie or something. I mean, I had hustled to get, I mean, I had been to 35 labels, but when it did happen, they came down and signing, you know, it was like, it was cool. And I haven't thought about that in a while, but they said to me, so when does your tour start? I'm like,
like it's up to you.
well, but it didn't even occur to me. I thought I was just going to make piano albums. Like, who's going to come? Like, I mean, nobody knew who I was. And I thought, well, don't you do that? Everybody thinks that, I think. Like, you get signed to an agent or a label, and then they just do everything for you and send you out, and then there's people there.
Right.
And I really was like naive, very naive at the very beginning, which I actually think helped my career, because I didn't know there were quote unquote rules. Like, you don't call a radio station and say, play my song or whatever. I mean, or I just thought, well, don't you arrange that for me? I don't, I never performed before. So I think the naivete, what happened was I didn't know what performing was. Like, I wasn't directed, trained, told. And so I thought, well, when I got the first gig, I thought, well, I guess I just talk like I'm having lunch with somebody.
Wow.
I don't, there wasn't any parameters of what you do or don't do, or, I mean, you watch other people perform, but when it's you can't imitate. You have to somehow share who you are, I guess. And, and I also thought, I went to a George Winston concert, the pianist.
Sure.
And
he was also on Windham Hill, yeah?
Yeah. And completely no offense to George Winston, because very, very talented. But my manager at the time, who I plucked out of nowhere, he wasn't like a manager. He was just a high energy guy that I liked. And I was like, do you want to be my manager? He's like, okay. And it actually worked. I mean, he was amazing. If it wasn't for him, I don't think a lot of it would happen. But he and I went to this George Winston concert. And, George just stares at the piano and he's just playing like this. He doesn't really talk. And at intermission, I said to David, my manager, I go, that was the most boring thing I have ever seen in my life. I'm sorry, George. It's just everybody has a style. So I'm not, to me, as an audience member.
Yeah, sure.
It was not entertaining. It sent me in a trance, which maybe is good for his audience. And obviously he's very popular. I don't want to cast aspersions on, but I thought, I can't do that. That is not going to hold. It doesn't hold my attention. It's not going to hold people like me. And I feel like my audience is like me. And I kept thinking, what do I want to see if I'm in the audience? Not thinking about what do I want to do as a performer, thinking, what do I want to see as an audience member? Mm-hmm. And once you start thinking about them instead of you, it changes you start thinking about things that are relatable to them, or that they can understand and that are authentic. And I mean, not to be patronizing, that they can understand. I mean,
no, I know
just relatable stuff. Like, and the radio show helped me a little bit with that too.
Beautiful.
And I never try to say, I did this and I did that and I did that. I try to approach it on the radio and on stage. Like, when you have those tickets for a concert on Friday night and you bought them like 3 months ago, and then you get to that day and it's like, oh no, that show is tonight. And or something like that. And so I know you guys, there's probably some of you who are like, oh God, honey, the show is tonight. Oh God. So I just want to make sure you chill out and you, not I. And that's why I always turn to the audience. You and I were talking about this, like you and I were talking about Elton John and Billy Joel. I know this now is coming off like I'm a little critical, George Winston, Elton John, but in my view, what works about Elton John and Billy Joel is those songs are iconic. So it's like, who cares where he looks or what he says? He's playing my favorite song. but he hugs that microphone straight on to the piano. The audience is out here and he's here, like in his little bubble. And that's not performing to me.
Mm.
That's people. It's like going to a museum. You're observing. You're not integrating.
Separate.
Yeah. I mean, so you're viewing, you're, and I tell young people that all the time. If I discover somebody that I think is talented, and the thing now is hold the microphone in front of your face and grab it like this all the time and do this and gesture for no reason. Like, it's like, but that's the words you're singing don't go with that gesture. Why are you gesturing for no reason?
Yeah.
It's, and it's become a parody of itself. And I just think, I guess the whole point is authenticity and sharing is what performing is. Having moments of surprise, having moments that are unexpected, people leaving saying, I didn't think it was going to be that fun, or, I cried, but I also laughed, and have an arc to it, and have a honesty. And I think that that's lost. I was actually talking, I had Bette Midler on the show, who I know because you know everybody.
Mm-hmm. She did one of my songs, but yeah, she's the one.
What?
She did later. Go ahead.
No. What song?
Well, I wrote a song with Spencer Proffer called Daybreak, but not the Mantle of Daybreak. It was daybreak. How can I ever leave this place beside you? It was on her.
Why didn't we do that song on our thing?
We could have. We'll do another thing. We'll have more songs. God. Anyway, go ahead. Tell me what you're saying.
No, but you and I were talking about, when I would go see her, she's performing. It's same with Barry Manilow.
Yeah.
These are performers. He doesn't hide in the piano. He, and it's subtle, but when you go like this instead of like this, you open physically, the body language is you're opening yourself up to people.
Oh.
And she and I were just talking about how that's not like that anymore. People, it's like all like the performer is like, you're coming to see me do my thing instead of we're coming to share an experience. And that's what theater taught me too. That's what, and when you're on stage by yourself, you actually have no choice, because you can't look at the drummer while he does his thing and be like,
yeah,
you're the one, right? You can't walk away like a singer. You are the one,
right,
that they're watching the entire time. So you have to think of ways to engage with them. And Bette was, and there's another example too of, I think we can agree that Bette is, she has her own unique style and she's a great singer, but she's not like a Celine Dion. Like the voice itself it's how she sings and how she communicates that makes her great, not her technical proficiency.
Yeah. When she sang The Wind Beneath My Wings, that iconic song, it's a gorgeous song. Jeff Silber and someone else, can't remember who else. But I always noted how she would sing this thing and it would just be incredible. And at the end, the music plays, they repeat the chorus, and she goes, fly, fly. And it's not necessarily, it's pitchy.
Pitchy, yes.
It's pitchy. And she's going, and she's being Bette and she's fly, and she's flying, and you just want, and it just tears your heart out. It's so real.
I say that all the time. It's like, I had a young singer who won a talent competition, 19, 20 years old. And you can see that someday they'll be incredible. So it was an original song of mine, and they were singing it. So it's not familiar to a lot of people. It's new. So they start singing the song, and on the first verse, they start riffing. Like that.
No.
And I go, you can't riff until you introduce the melody of the song. You can riff on the third chorus,
Right, because they've heard it before.
that they've heard it, but they don't know the song. You have to establish before you start variations. And so those are the kinds of things that tell me you don't know what you're singing about. Because if you don't establish what the songwriter wrote first, you know, it's like the Star Spangled Banner. Even if everybody knows it, you can't go, oh, say, can you see? You have to sing it, you know, establish. Because everybody knows Star Spangled Banner. I'm talking about a new song. And it was like it didn't compute. It was like they
really?
I think they got it. Maybe it was the way I said it, because I was kind of obnoxious about it. I'm like, nobody knows the song yet. It's not the time to go.
Yeah, but it's like what you said about communication before, or like about just presenting a melody. When you're talking to somebody, you start with hello, and you get their attention, and then you can build on that, and 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 then they know where you're going, and now you're having a party together. But yeah, you're so right, and that's so great that you corrected that.
Yeah, I just think
it's very important.
I just think, one of the tricks that I always try with singers, if it's a new song, I have them recite the lyric before they sing it.
Lovely.
Read the lyrics to me without singing it, and try to take in what this is about. It's the same thing with Carole King, but because she's singing her own songs, she never wanted to sing her own. She's like, I'm a songwriter. I don't know. It's not like with you, David, where you're just blessed with a beautiful voice. So you have the luxury of taking your voice and bringing your songs to life, in a gorgeous way, just because you are a great singer. But, Carole King just wanted to be a songwriter. She's like, me do an album? In retrospect, if you read about her or talk to her, and she actually inspired me to do an all vocal album because of what she said. She said, you wrote the songs, and so authentically they will come from you in the way they were intended, even if you're not the greatest singer. And, she learned that from Tapestry, but I think she still thinks it. I think she still thinks, I'm not the greatest singer in the world. But songs are not about how great a singer you are. Songs are about the emotional connection they make after you hear them, not, about how proficient you are at holding a note.
That's so true. So true. Jim, I want to ask you a question. It has to do with being in the moment when you're performing, or even when you're recording, being in the moment. If let's say you played Valentine 560,000 times in your career, your song, and yet it's requisite on you, it's a brand new rendition. Those people are in the studio even. This has never been done before, and here I am, and here it is brand new. You're not copying yourself at all. Am I right?
Yes. It's easier for me to do that live because every environment is different. Every audience is different. And there are songs that I prefer to sing more than others, just because of if I'm going to sing it, where they sit in my voice. But every time I sing it, again, it's the same thing I was saying before. I think about what it's feeling like to that couple in the audience. What are they taking in? So I'm trying to sing it to them and imagine them receiving it rather than just sing the song.
You just presenting your song.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. You don't present. You actually give it.
Yeah. There are things you do to present because you want, you have to establish that you belong up there. So you have to do something that's a trick, or, is impressive, or, something that has a little bit of a gimmick to it. You have to do that, every once in a while, just to prove you belong there. and that you're not just like, you could be playing in the Hilton Lounge and it would be the same thing,
Yeah. Well, what would be the example of a trick? What would you use? What would you do?
Like solo dueling pianos, where there's a piano on the right and a piano on the left, and I pick the right hand and this piano on the left on the other piano, or certain songs of mine that have a lot of technical, that sound and are more complicated, that involve a lot of very almost classical quality, a lot of proficiency, that have a wow factor, or playing something that fills out almost like you hear an orchestra, even though there's not one there. Right. And stylistically, I never pander to something like a Jerry Lee Lewis or something obvious like that. But, there are certain, as a performer, and this, there are moments where if you're really aware and in the moment, you can sense if you're losing them for some reason.
Sure.
And it's, you never know what that is. It could be a light is on the exit sign and it's distracting. It's like being at a movie and the light is on and you're like, I can't focus. The light is on. Or, like I went to a movie the other day where they had the Spanish subtitles and they couldn't get it off the screen. And it was driving me crazy. So, I mean, like, if there's something happening, anyway, the point is, if you lose them, you have to have a backup plan.
Yep, you bet.
To get them back.
Sure.
Something in your bag of tricks that works every time. Everybody that's a good performer does that. I'm sure Barry Manilow does it. I'm sure Bette, you've got to have it.
Sure. Hey, sometimes it's as easy as indicating the exit sign that's bugging you. What is with that exit sign? And everybody, they laugh because it's bugging them too.
There was one theater where, or if you get distracted, there's one theater where on the middle aisle, when you went up and into the lobby from the stage going out, there was this big mirror. And so because of where the mirror was, when you walked out the middle aisle, I could see myself the entire time in the mirror. And I was like, please close the direct. Please, is there a way to cover the mirror? And, they're like, but then it's going to be like somebody died if we cover the mirror or something like that. I'm like, like a, Jewish or whatever.
Yeah, some kind of superstition thing.
Yeah. I go, I can't perform watching myself.
Oh, I'm not a dancer.
I'm not.
Dancers can do that. I don't know how they can, but they can. I want to just embarrass you a little bit because this is so extraordinary. I mean, you've worked with these amazing people, and the songs. I'm going to some of your song titles that people know and love. Your Love is a gorgeous thing. Valentine, Destiny, Jordan Hill cut Destiny. Beautiful is a gorgeous song. You've done it with Wayne Brady. You've done it with All for One. Simple Things, The Gift. You are the love of my life. Yeah. You are the love. How does it go? You're the love of my life.
You are the love of my life. I'm so glad you
found me. You are the love of my life. That's gorgeous. The world around me. Angel Eyes, The Promise. My love is here. Without you in my life. Hear me. Michael Bolton. These are extraordinary songs. And how does your love begin? I'm done with this stuff because once you get me started, I know this song.
Wrapped in fancy paper. It's not the ring I wear around my finger. You could give me wings to fly and catch me if I fall.
But that B section, the section after your verse that goes into that is gorgeous. Da 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 da, all you need.
When I have you here beside me,
Me, boom, chorus. Don't match me when I fall, and I love when I fall. Da dee da lo dum da lo. I mean, you leap so beautifully. You're like a gazelle, my friend. But you do. You innately do that. You've worked with these people, and I saw in your bio. I haven't heard the tune, but you recently worked with Johnny Mathis,
yeah.
one of your Christmas songs. Tell us about that. It is Johnny Mathis, for goodness sake.
I know. And it's Christmas. You know, I stalk these people because I want to work with them. And so I have to figure out a way to get to them. And I always figure at this point in my career, I must know someone in the circle, maybe, even if I don't know the person. So I always start with like the keyboard player in the band, somebody who might know me or something like that.
Me too. I do that.
You know, and so that's how it happened. I happen to know his producer.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, Fred Mullen, but I hadn't talked to him in years. And so I said, you know, I just want him on my album. I don't care if it's Silent Night. I don't care if it's the phone book. I don't care what he sings as long as, you know, I get to work with him. Yeah. And so Fred said, well, why don't you send original songs, you know? And I said, well, okay. And so I played Fred like 5 original songs. And he said, I'm going to send Johnny Sending You a Little Christmas. Mm-hmm. And the song had been released, you know, many years prior. And it was a fairly big hit, but I sent it to him and he absolutely loved it. Mm-hmm. And so he ended up singing an original, which was amazing. And then he said, you know, if you could come over and teach it to me at my house. I'm like, what? You know, so
oh no, I'm busy, Johnny. But I'll have my person.
Surreal.
Wow.
And it could not have been sweeter. So sweet. And thank God it was in the key of C for him. Thank God, because I was nervous, but so sweet. And you know, 4 passes and he was done. Like it was, you know, and it's gorgeous. And we did it at Capitol Records. It was really, and could not have been sweeter. You know, people like that. Oh, well, I was going to say, so they loved it so much. And then his label loved it so much that they actually put it on his Christmas record and titled the record Sending You a Little Christmas. So,
oh boy.
And it was another big hit. So that was thrilling. You know, I still can't believe those things it's like when I hear about you touring with the Carpenters, I'm like, I can't even conceive of those kind of, you know, we all are super fans of these people that are iconic, no matter whether you're as successful or as they are or not, everybody has that. I'm sure Johnny had that with, you know, I mean, everybody has those. And then to work with them. The thing I notice about the iconic people are the nicest. Mm-hmm. It's the up and comers that are difficult.
And most insecure, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I think it's because, you know, take like a handful of these people, every one of them is amazing that I've worked with. Kenny Rogers, Donny Osmond, Olivia Newton-John, Carly Simon, every one of them could not be nicer. And I think it's because they've had this, they understand at that point that a life of this is ups and downs and ups and downs. And I think when you're young, you idealize that it's never going to happen, that you'll be down, you know? And so you have this ego that protects you from your insecurity, that makes you feel like you have to be the expectation of a star or whatever that is. And I find a lot of these up and comers extremely difficult to work with. I'm not going to name names, but the icons are, to me, the most professional. And Johnny, and this happened with Kenny Rogers, asking me, is that okay? Mm-hmm. Do you like that, or do you want something else? I'm like,
over your shoulder.
All these people. amazing.
Yeah. Well, they're musicians first, is what they are. I mean, also, yeah, you worked with Bolton. You know who I love is Wayne Brady, and I'm so happy. I know you knew him before he doing this breakout new career that he's having on television. But even when he was doing Whose Line Is It Anyway, you know, you get to see this genius. And when I hear him singing your song, Singing Beautiful, in that gorgeous tenor R&B,
Yeah.
soulful, lovely.
People don't realize.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. So this past year, obviously, none of us have been on the road much, if at all. And I'm sure you miss playing in the theaters. And yet you've found a way to deliver your art to people via the internet in a very effective way. And I must tell you, it's a bit of a template for the rest of us to watch what you do. And in that you haven't stopped. Most people would stop and maybe write a new album and go into hiding. And later, when it opens up, I know a lot of my friends are this way, but not you. I know you did 50 or more Christmas concerts every night.
Mm-hmm.
Every night. Am I right? Was it 50?
50, sometimes 2 a night, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes 2 a night. And that must have been whatever it was for you, but it was appreciated. And it was so stunning to me to see someone do that and have that dedication. And it's actually inspired me, not necessarily to do the same thing, but it's inspired me that there's no reason ever to cut communication or to stop the outflow, stop the creation. And that's what you do. I mean, you've made 50 or more albums, and you've worked with these wonderful people, and you're touring all the time. What's your favorite thing about touring, actually being in the theater proper? What do you love most about it?
I love to perform. I never thought that I would feel this way. It's so much fun to be in that moment. I'm not big on recording. I don't write, obviously, a ton, but I don't like it as much as performing. I'm not a studio rat type. I don't really like the studio. I am not comfortable. I have to get in a mindset of you're going to record that and it's going to be that way forever. And I don't like that pressure. I mean, I'm good at it and I know how to do it. It's not like that. I mean, obviously, but I'm not big on, I use producers quite often to make some of those executive decisions about what works. And I don't really like to self-produce that much anymore. I like to ideate. I'm very good at high concept, what to do next, what I think is going to work, what idea is right for the time in the world, what to put out there. I'm very cognizant of that's. I'm more talented at that than I am at recording. I have a really good sense of what to do when, or at least I have so far. Sometimes I get like, at the moment, I'm a little bit like, what am I going to do this summer? But the thing about the sessions that we did, or the live streams, was it was a way to also give back to a lot of the theaters that are struggling right now. You know, these theaters have been so kind to me for so long to invite me to perform. I don't think people realize how much risk these theaters take in inviting me to come there. You know, is it going to sell? Is it not going to sell? Is it, you know, and they put themselves on the line to give me the platform to perform for people. So I thought it would be nice to be able to give back. Same with the Actors Fund and what we're doing with them, continuing on. We have a really exciting thing coming up this summer with the Actors Fund that I'll mention real quick. Sure. It's called BRICKMAN's Big Break, and it is a talent competition, but it's for people over 40, because I'm so sick to death of 17-year-olds being the thing that, you know, it's like the minute you say talent competition, it's like you have to be 20 in order to enter. And I just hate that, because there's so many people who are so talented that, you know, have a chance, maybe want a second chance, or that haven't been able to be heard because they're, you know, 50 years old or something like that. So
great idea.
I just love it. It's like, because the second that I say it to you, we're doing a talent competition, like the first reaction is always like, yeah, who isn't? So it's for over 40. I want to make it over 50, but then I thought, no. So
Yeah,
I'm
the
really,
dentures could fall out on you. That's not a pretty story.
but and even if the people who enter aren't good, it's like a chance, to do
Yeah,
something,
Wow.
and it was actually, we pitched it just as a thing, and the Actors Fund said, what about if it's over 40? And I was like, yes, that's brilliant. So it's called BRICKMAN's Big Break. And then the winner is going to be able to sing on one of our live streams. And then we're going to do a live stream of the top 10 for people to watch. But all of the proceeds go to the Actors Fund. So we're doing that in summer. And then we have our cocktail parties coming up. And
Yes, you've got Josh Groban coming to your cocktail party.
well,
What's going on? What? How do I get Josh Groban to come to my cocktail party?
that's going to be difficult because exactly what you think is going to happen on the live stream is what everybody thinks is going to happen, and it's not. He won't sing on the party.
Okay.
He just will talk.
Okay.
So I'm trying to tell people, please don't get upset when he doesn't walk in and sing like David Pomeranz. And I am trying to put the disclaimer on that, conversation with, but still people are going to be mad. But then I'm just going to say, look, you're coming to the Jim BRICKMAN cocktail party. You're not coming to the Josh Groban cocktail party. But
just be there. He's a guest at the party. You don't ask a
and,
guest to sing at a party. It's not nice.
Hey, that is great. So I'll show a music video and then somebody will complain, I didn't pay $25 to see music videos. But I'm like, if you're bought the Jim BRICKMAN cocktail party, hopefully you're coming for me. But
You are.
we've added, I don't know if you've ever heard of Dave Barnes, such a great songwriter. And so he wrote this song called God Gave Me You. It's
Oh yeah, great
it's
song.
a big hit for Blake Shelton. Anyway, he's going to be on it. And then I just got Paul Stanley from Kiss is going to be on one of them too.
Oh, awesome. How fun is that?
And Jake Shakambura, I can never remember how to say his name, great Hawaiian artist. And so it's going to be a very eclectic, and you'll have to watch it with Josh Groban to see how we navigate that. But I'm trying to downplay it as much as possible. I mean, he's a great guy, but I think I said this on the live stream the other day that we did. I'm like, people, he's not coming to Cleveland, so just chill.
But the
or I'm going to have David Pomeranz like a picture of him, and then you like Cyrano, you raise me up.
And Groban's going to go.
Or like, singing in the rain behind the curtain.
Yeah, right. Oh, BRICKMAN, you're amazing. Listen, last thing, and then I'll let you go. There's something, you've said so many wonderful things, and the people that are going to be watching this, hopefully there'll be a lot of young writers, a lot of young people. And the thing about you, as much an artist as you are, you also consider, like you just said, these ideas I hate the word marketing because it's become such a cold idea. It's mercenary, cold business, nothing to do with art. En contraire, it is marketing in that way, is as creative as it gets. And I want to what would you say to these people about the joy of great ideas as to how to present their work to the world?
Well, I think the misconception for all time is that I'm so talented that somebody's going to knock on my door and say, hey, do you want to be a star? I think you and I both know how hard we both worked and the things we did, you in the subway, you busking, you Santa Monica, nobody, well, there are a few exceptions, but not too many people get the knock on the door. And it's early on about saying yes to every opportunity I hear a lot of young people will say, well, I don't want people to think that that's the kind of artist I am. I want them to know that I write original songs. So I'm not going to do covers because I don't want people. I go, you don't have any fans. What? I mean, who are you talking about? Like, who are these phantom people that are going to have an opinion about you? Just do something. Just do something. Offer to play in the lobby of a concert hall for free before people walk in the door to come to something else. Offer to play a wedding, for free. Michael Bublé was playing a wedding when David Foster was at a wedding and he saw him perform. These things, and your craft. The more you work on your craft, Josh Groban was taking singing lessons from this wonderful teacher in LA, David Romano, and David Foster was friends with David Romano, and David was like, this young kid is, but it was because Josh was honing his craft. He wasn't just like sitting at home like, I'm a great singer, I'm gonna put things on YouTube and I'm gonna stand in line for American Idol to be famous. It's, you have to do the work. And you have to say yes to everything. And you can't wait for somebody, the goal is not, it's like actors. If I just had an agent, well, the agent isn't the ultimate goal. Work is the goal. Like the agent isn't going to fix it for you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much for that. Boy, that's the truth, what you just said there.
It's work. And to your point about marketing, it's like one of the only professions, if you call your lawyer, he starts billing you when you say hello. You know what I mean? Like that's his profession. Well, this is ours. Yes, we're artists, but you got to make a living.
That's it, baby.
If you decide that it's going to be a product, then essentially it's your business too.
You got to be responsible for delivering it. Otherwise, you're unrequited and you die making people wrong,
Yeah. And
blaming others.
I mean, yeah, of course you want to share your art, but it's not a charity. I know that sounds very, harsh, but my team, I got a team. I have people to help me get the word out. And, you pay to go to a concert, you pay to go to a movie. You're paying to be entertained. And so, yes, on the other hand, on our side, there's a responsibility to be the best you can possibly be. It's not like you'd escape because somebody paid for it, but it is a business. If you're not going to do it as a business, just write songs and put them on your shelf and play them for your family and say, hey, this is my hobby.
Right. Right. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. David. Hey, listen, you got a new album out. I want to talk about it.
Yeah, it just came out the other day. It's called 88.
It's called 88. Tell us about it.
I don't know if you know, David, there's 88 keys on a piano.
I never counted. Is that right?
Yeah.
Unless you've got a synthesizer, which can be 70.
That's exactly right.
But 88 on a big one.
A lot of people think it's 88 songs, but it's 88 keys. And it's an all original solo piano album. I haven't done one of those of original music in a very long time. So
wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that, Jim. Thank you so much. You're a joy.
You too.
You're a great guy, and the world is so much better for you. I must tell you.
Very kind of you to say. You as well.
Thank you, my friend.
Take care.
Okay. Take care, Jim. So that wraps up another episode of Song Sessions. Be with us next time when we'll be spending quality time with another master songwriter. Until then, for all my fellow artists who stay up late burning the midnight or mid-morning oil, as the case may be, keep making beautiful things for us. Lord knows this world needs you now more than ever. Bye-bye for now. I'm David Pomeranz, and we'll see you next time on Song Sessions. Bye-bye.